Call meeting to order. Pledge allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda, May 19th. Any additions, Kyle?
Added a number of attachments yesterday, so you'll see that the list for things like bills, fund balances, auditor warrants are all added yesterday. So that will be your changes, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second the motion. Moved and second to approve the agenda. Questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? County Board minutes, May 4.
May 5th, isn't it?
May 5th.
Yeah. Make a motion to approve the
Yes.
board minutes at the May 5th board meeting.
Was it on May 4?
It was on May 5th.
May 5th.
Oh, got it,
Who's the second?
Sure.
Been moved and second to approve the minutes of May 5. Any questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda, Kyle, just one.
One item, this was previously agreed to, it's the joint powers agreement with guaranteeing the GO bonds. Each member county must sign off on this. We have a very small percentage of the Lincoln Pipestone system as a whole. But the amount of debt that they were securing actually was slightly smaller, so they needed to rerun the GO bonds for each of the county entities to approve. So that's what we're asking for today.
So it's more like just an amendment?
It's a new, they're treating it as a new agreement.
A new agreement.
Right. So it would be a consent item approving the joint powers agreement.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
On the second?
Been moved and second to approve the consent agenda. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Angela?
Yeah, I've got a whole crew if they can join me.
Bring them all
All
up.
right, come on up, ladies.
Grab some more chairs there.
Come down here, come down there. And if you'll take a couple of cards and pass them out to. Well, we're here today representing the Rock County Gap Fund. We have been here once before, requesting funds. The Rock County Gap Fund is to help people in our county that don't have adequate insurance to assist with getting mental health therapy sessions. This crew here, I should probably have everyone introduce themselves, but we've been working on this since January 2024, and it's fully operable, and we've got a website and a few different things going. But before I get ahead of myself, if the others want to introduce themselves and where they work at.
Marie Atkinson, Smines Elementary Counselor.
Sky Peltier Anderson, Banyan Tree Counseling.
I'm Erica Huff. I'm the owner of Laverne Counseling.
So we have our board, it's the 4 of us, and then we have 3 others that help us to manage the people applying for these grants, to help us make decisions about bringing new therapists on and being able to pay off the bills that come in. Maria is our treasurer for that. So as a reminder, this program is for people with high deductible insurance of over $2,500. You can't utilize these funds if you qualify for state insurance like Medicaid. And then once you apply and if you're awarded the grant, it's $25 per session. We are calling that a contribution fee because research shows that if you have a little bit of skin in the game, you're more likely to follow through with the services and benefit more from them. So we pay out to the therapist, it was $100, we have increased to $110 because Medicaid costs have gone up, so we want to make sure that we're matching that for any of the therapists that are part of our program. We have brought in 20 counselors, and they are both from, or they're from Laverne, Brandon, and Sioux Falls. We've been able to have Sanford agree that I can bill the GAP fund, and other therapists through the Sanford network or enterprise can be part of this. So you can choose your counselor. And so that's kind of one of the things we want to make sure would happen, is that we didn't want people to feel like I can use this, but I can only use it to meet with someone locally. Sometimes coming into mental health therapy can be nerve-wracking, because what if it's my neighbor, what if it's my friend's or my daughter's friend's mom? And so giving people variety for counselors. So we've been able to get a pretty robust list of counselors. We assist, we've got a point person that assists with onboarding the person that applies, and we can also help them figure out who would be a good fit for them too. So in the last couple of years, we have promoted this program to both the Laverne and HBC school, obviously to the hospital and clinic, because that's where I'm at. Lewis Drug, the local Rotary Club, I presented there. The Rock County Cattlemen's Association, and the corn and soybean growers, as we know that farmers are going through a pretty difficult season right now. Local banks and other businesses, and to churches. So with the flyer that you have there in the card, flyers have gone out, cards have been dispersed to different community businesses, and just trying to get the word out about what this is and who can utilize it. And that was probably our biggest thing, is getting the website up and running for ease of access for applying to. So far our funds have come from the commissioners, so thank you guys very much. The CAR Foundation, LACF, the Women's Giving Circle, and Sioux Valley Energy. So we are back today to ask if we could have potentially a renewable amount of money that comes in each year, and if nothing else, a one-time support for our program, and maybe we'll be back in a year asking again if it can't be renewable. So
Carl, go ahead.
We did build that into an appropriation, so we
Okay,
have,
that is-
right now we have it set at $10,000
at
per
10,000,
year
okay,
appropriation,
excellent, yeah.
which followed, so that check would be coming out in end of June.
Okay, good to know. I think I maybe forgot about that. Maybe Marie has that in her notes.
So, something that, and I'm gonna pass these out in a minute, but it seemed like it was, for a while there, we're like, okay, nobody's coming, how can we get this out? We gotta get the word out. Okay, then, now we're in the opposite boat.
26 came.
Yeah, so now, and when I compiled this is probably wrong, because people keep applying, which is a good problem. You know, like before, like I said, how do we get people to sign up for this? And so now we have lots of people that want to do this, but now we're like, okay, now are we going to have enough money? So,
Lots of people are needing this.
which is a good thing. So we have, Robin compiled this top part, that are people that are active, and 31 grants, and 9 expired, and then we had 40. Okay, she did that top part. And then I added more information, because then we had 42 clients, 9 expired. There's 4 clients that have used 10 sessions. And then 38 of the active clients have used between 0 to 90% of the sessions. Then the amount of money in the GAP fund currently is $33,015.39, and we've spent $13,900. That means 139 counseling sessions people have gotten, which is a good thing.
Okay.
I think I have, you and I, maybe if we don't have accurate, maybe yours is more accurate, because you said 20.
We have 20
Counseling
counselors, but
facilities.
7 counseling facilities, so that's probably accurate.
Okay, it is, okay,
Yeah.
20 facilities,
And 20 counselors.
okay, 20 counselors. 7 facilities,
Like Erica has several.
oh, I see, and 20 counselors, okay, gotcha. All right, so anyway, we have a problem where now people really want to use it, which, that's really what we wanted, but,
And we're looking at other sources of funding, other
Right.
grants to apply for as well.
Well, and I know, Stan, when you joined us, it was our cookie fundraiser. And so when you had said that, you're like, hey, why don't you come and we'll talk about how we can support this. So we are looking at other fundraisers that we can do to fill this in. But it's certainly been a grassroots supported by our local community, which has been really encouraging and exciting to see a program like this get off the ground. And I think we mentioned the first time we were here, there was 2 things in our community needs assessment as to why people weren't seeking out mental health care. And one of them is stigma, and so we're really working against, that, people saying, well, I don't need to get mental health care, people like me don't go to mental health counseling. We're starting to see that change, and people are starting to get vulnerable to come into those services. And the second piece was cost, and so if we could mitigate the stress about the cost of services, we were hoping fighting against those two things would help our community to be healthier. So if we have, farmers that are in the fields being able to manage their stress better, that's gonna be better for their families. If we've got mothers that are struggling with stress and they can work on that, they're gonna be, and fathers too, better parents to their kids. If kids have services, they're gonna do better in school. So this is just one of those things that if we improve mental health, then it has the domino effect of improvement to other areas too, So we're here for two reasons, to give you guys the update, which I think, we're pretty excited to see where things are at. And then, like I said, I'm curious if there'd be a possibility to even maybe do an increase from the $10,000, but I'm not sure what that looks like in you guys' budget either.
I suppose the budget committee would have to
Yeah.
take a peek at it. Appreciate what you guys are doing for this. When we started this, I didn't have any clue it would work.
Right,
Yeah.
here we are.
And we were a little nervous at first too.
My
Honestly.
first thought was the stigma that people aren't gonna admit that they need to go talk to you.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
So I'm totally shocked that it could blossom.
Yes.
it's starting to bust at the seams.
Yeah.
And we keep hearing like Pipestone County and Nobles County, you guys need to expand. I'm like, well, we'll train you on how to do this in your county. But
Yeah.
other counties are seeing this and wanting this for themselves too.
Mhm.
And it's interesting, because I can see all the people who have signed up. And lately I've seen some with a parent and the child.
Yes.
That's a great thing. So anyway,
Yeah, and I don't have demographics, but yes, when we've met together, we are seeing kids, we're seeing adults, we're seeing both men and women, and so it's been, the whole range of people that are coming through the doors, but.
Do you see a trend in occupation?
I'd have to look on that, I'm not quite sure on those things. I can speak to, like, when we talked about stigma, I am starting to see more men come in for therapy, and so I don't have the numbers specifically to get, but I know Erica and I have talked about that.
Definitely, a lot more men.
So, starting to see that.
I think it's a variety of people across the board.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The variety, like I said, when we first started, I'm a retired farmer, but it was agriculture my whole life. But, when you say men have stopped in and should tell you they need some help,
Yeah,
it's maybe it's getting into the farm community a little more.
maybe,
When
yeah.
men can admit that they need to go talk to somebody.
Mhm.
I would say even like traditional blue collar types of employment in general also. Which is great to see. I started a new client just a couple weeks ago who said, I can come in at that time, but I'm gonna be dirty and greasy, and I'm like, that's okay, I live with a farmer, so come on in.
At least you're calling, right?
Yep, so.
Jay, you good?
Yeah, I was going to ask a question.
Yeah,
So thanks again for what you guys have put together and worked hard to do. I like your piece of it, that the skin is in the game, then they apply some and you guys give a little bit. The part that you're giving, is that enough? Have you received feedback on that?
I think we've only had one provider out of Sioux Falls that the rate was too low. And so otherwise people have been open. With these two owning private practices, it's nice to have them at the table to talk about like what is typical to have come in for the cost of the session. And again, to have Sanford at the table when they talk about like, if we can continue to match Medicaid rates, then they're open to continue to have myself and other Sanford mental health providers be at the table too. So I just the one that said that isn't an adequate rate. So I think does that answer your question?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then when we have some in Brandon and Sioux Falls, and there's a couple that are online.
Yeah, maybe,
So
yes, we
it's-
did have, I think through Erica, there was just one that did telehealth only, so yeah, so there's different
So
options.
there's a
to do it.
variety.
Yeah. With the cards that you guys have too, if there's anybody that, you know that would benefit from, or if you're in your own social circles, and if you know somebody that could utilize the service, that's another part that we're trying to get out to people, is that this does exist, and that we're gonna keep working on our building of funds and renewable funds so that this can be something that continues. And Emily, through, I know they have a different branding name, but through LACF has been really supportive and helpful in our process with the financial end of things too, so keeping it all straight for us with Marie's work too, so.
And it's a real asset to the community that
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
level of help that down there that a lot of people can qualify for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I suppose the best thing we could do, Kyle, board's thoughts on taking this to the budget.
Just would be the increase, right?
Well, we have 10,000 budgeted,
Yep.
so
It's
I,
renewable, right?
you know what, my personal opinion is we either invest in it here or we invest in other social services down the line. Either way, clearly there's a need for more help in the mental health area and more services and affordable services. So I don't know why we went, you know, to do the 15,000, and I'd be comfortable making an annual stipend on it. So. Especially, it kind of warms my heart when I see a parent go with a child or something too, and try to maybe help them in their time of need a
That's
little
something
bit.
you need a
So
motion for, Kyle? Yes. I'll make that motion. Increase 5,000, so a total of 15.
Good.
I'll second that.
I moved in second to increase the 5,000 for the GAP program. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I do want to thank you for all you're doing. For one, acknowledging the need, and then putting together a coalition of people to hopefully solve an issue. So, biggest question I have, if you don't mind, Chair.
No, go ahead.
You talked a little about the stigma, you know, people trying to get over that, and I struggle. You know, I've got someone I know that that's the topic comes up. You know, like I keep telling them, if you broke a bone, you go get it set. Okay, it's okay. People need people to talk to. Is there anything maybe on an information point where you can help folks help people? You know what I'm saying? That maybe the education piece to
Well,
guide people in the.
that's what kind of Carson's cause is with Lori. I work with Lori closely, and
Sure.
every year, because she wanted like elementary kids to not have the stigma, so we give books, and I do a lesson on brain health, K-5, and then she pays for, or her organization pays for Klein Theater, and their whole topic is brain health. So, I mean, and she's doing that in other schools around this area.
Yeah. How about
So-
adults?
Well, yeah.
You know, because
Tell me
we
about it.
kind of set in our own ways as the older we get. We think we
Right.
have all the answers. Or something doesn't hurt.
Right.
You know.
And I'm just gonna share this from my personal life. My dad had schizophrenia. And, okay, that was a long time ago, okay, and I remember the stigma then, okay? But then other people in my family had bipolar or whatever it is, and anxieties, okay? And I think we've come a long way, but then I think, have we really?
We come from.
Have we really? Because like, you know, it's like, you know, we all like want our kids to graduate and do this and do that, and then when they don't, and then who do you talk to about it? You know, that's why I said, we've come a long way, but have we really?
We have brought a few classes to town, like how do we talk to people about their mental health? They're not always really well attended. So we've had a little bit of struggle of like, through community ed, we would have like the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention would come and put on, like More Than Sad was one of the classes, so that it would educate you on what to look for and how to talk to people about these things. But we'd only have maybe 5 people, and kind of the same 5 people show up.
Yeah, and even
virtually.
virtual
Yeah.
classes, we can't get people to
Yeah.
attend.
I'm just wondering if there ain't a way to soft sell it, like
Yeah.
you got a pancake feed, and all of a sudden you got a little table set up. And
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
you know,
we've participated in trivia night at
Yeah,
16.
right.
Hot dog night,
Hot dog
Yeah.
fair, yeah, so we try to be
present.
places,
Right.
yeah.
Again, it's just, you know, I admire you and respect you because it's something you can't see.
You know,
Okay,
as an individual, if you specifically are talking to somebody, maybe asking them like, gosh, you know, you seem really depressed lately. How do you think that's impacting? I like the broken leg concept. Like, you wouldn't let that just try and heal all on its own. You'd go to the doctor and have them fix it. Well, that's a great analogy to try and make. If that's not working, you know, maybe try and figuring out like, well, how is this impacting other areas of your life? Are you performing at work the way that you want? Are you showing up to be a spouse or a parent the way that you want to? Well, you're not. Well, then maybe it's time to do something about that and showing them how mental health might be impacting other areas of their life.
Right. Well, good.
And then encouraging them to go to their doctor too, because that's kind of the benefit of my position at the clinic is if you come in to see your doctor and they give you, each year when you're in for your yearly appointment, they give you a PHQ and a GAD, so it assesses for depression, anxiety. If it's flagged, then your doctor knows to ask more questions. They might talk about medication, or they'll say, could Angela come in and have a conversation with you? And then we also did hire a second therapist. She's been there a year now. Or could Brianna come in? So we're seeing more times of us going to the hospitals when people are in swing bed. If they're, you know, showing more signs of struggles with depression or stress, we can go over there. So that's kind of been a thing Sanford's been doing the last decade or so. Like, if you're already at the doctor, could we soft sell, you know, this thing and build some rapport in that process too. And with us both knowing about this program, we can also talk about costs then, because then a farmer might say to me or somebody else, well, I couldn't afford that. And there's other things I'd rather spend money on. So then this is where the program can come in. Or my insurance deductibles are way too high. And if you are purchasing your own insurance, that can come at quite the cost too. So I'm not gonna go in for that because of the cost. So send them to their doctor might be a backdoor approach to
Make an anonymous call to their doctor. No, I'm just
Well, and I think just word of mouth too, one that's standing out for me is I have a client who's a businessman and works with farmers without giving out too much information, but you know, he's a man, he's a big manly man, you know, working on his mental health, and you know, he talks about his mental health with his clients that he works with, and he actually asked if he could take some of the Gap Fund cards and hand them out because he knows some people who could benefit. So word of mouth is huge. I'm a client, I'm doing it, I'm benefiting.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes just that little bit of self-disclosure helps
Mr.
too.
Chair, I got a couple questions in real quick. You got 4 clients that have used 10 sessions. Is there a limit to how many sessions you can do? 10 is the limit.
sessions.
And this is what you get.
How
Just
long?
because of our funding.
Okay, that's all.
You know, we can't make it endless.
Right,
So they
right.
get a
That's what
year.
that's what I was wondering if there's.
They get a year to use their 10 sessions, and then that authorization expires. Kind of like EAP, which is an Employee Assistance Program, which is, if you're familiar with that, it's oftentimes a benefit that people get along with like when they're employed someplace. It might be a benefit they get from
And do you feel comfortable when someone's used their 10 sessions and hopefully they made progress? Is that the right thing?
I
Yeah.
hope so.
You know, that they made, so then we feel comfortable that they're gonna be okay, or is that just kind of a crapshoot?
You know, it depends on where you're at that point. You know, you might do more sessions after that. Maybe you're in a different financial spot,
Right,
you know?
right,
Maybe your deductible's been met by then.
right.
I don't know. There's so many factors.
Sure, okay.
How long does his session last? Is there a time limit? Half hour, hour?
45 minutes
45
is usually a
minutes.
standard session, yeah. And I know for me, when I have people come in that are using this, we'll talk about how to best utilize their 10 sessions. And so I might meet with somebody like every other week so we can stretch them out. Or if they're in a good spot, let's meet again in a month. And then they're given some really focused strategies to be doing in that month so that we can come back and see their success too. So we're mindful of our time and how to best utilize because we have the 10.
So who determines if you think the client's doing well enough, he doesn't have to come back? Does he make that decision, I don't need to come back, or does the doctor tell him, you're okay, we don't need to see you again, or how's that work?
Sometimes most often it's the client being able to say, you know, I feel like, you'll notice like, because there's only been 4 that's finished, sometimes people will only finish a few sessions and then carry on too. So sometimes they won't even finish
The whole 10.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
But as I finish up 10 sessions with people, you know, we'll check in, like what have you accomplished with your treatment plan and your goals? We always assess for crisis. If they were in crisis, we'd have to come up with another plan to continue services. But oftentimes it's a collaboration with the counselor and the client.
And sometimes by the time they've used 10 sessions, maybe they've met their deductible or come
Right.
close,
Yeah.
and they want to continue therapy too at that point. Or it can be a lot of different scenarios.
Well, I think Erica, you were reminding us, we did open it up that in some situations they can apply for a second 10.
Yes.
I think our board approved that maybe 6 months ago. So some people have applied for a second 10. I haven't
Yeah,
had
I
anything
think
with them.
Yeah, I
maybe
haven't-
2. Yeah.
Yeah.
One last question.
Yeah.
This pertains to only residents of Rock County?
Mhm.
Okay, so you have to have a Rock County address. in
Yes,
order-
Yes.
yes.
That's what-
Yeah. Well, and that's where these other counties have said, well, could we do that? Yes, you can do that,
Yes,
but we can't
you
do that for
can.
you. Yeah.
We can't use our money.
Yeah, we'll give you all the education and the tools on how to build this, but yeah, we have someone with Level Naval that comes over from Worthington, so Nobles County, and then you guys mentioned Pipestone County too, that they've expressed interest, so developing that in other counties would be great too.
Since our meetings are being televised,
Yeah,
we might have more customers now.
there we go, absolutely, yeah,
I hope not, but if
Yeah.
that's the case, it might happen.
yeah. No, actually, I hope that they will, and that's the destigmatization too, as I always tell people, like, you don't have to come in because you're in crisis, but all of us have something that's stressful. I mean, my kids are now moving into teenage years, so like you could come in as a mom with stress of parenting. If you own a business, if you're a farmer, if you're, I have a lot of people coming in talking about loneliness, and that expands childhood to, you know, grandma and grandpa years, like coming in because that's been a struggle and figuring out, well, where do I spend my time and where do I find community in my next phase of life? So I hope that they will keep calling and that we'll, you know, keep building funds and the ability to offer this in Rock County, so, yeah.
So do you want that motion, do we want that to supersede the last one?
It'll start immediately. I'm assuming you wanted it as the new appropriation.
And then the annual, so it won't come in front of us except on the budget.
Correct, it'll be part of the appropriations.
Be a line
list that-
item.
that actually presents
Okay,
it.
no, that'll work. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
appreciate it very much.
Thanks for the great questions too.
Very lot of updates, yeah, that they want to address.
No, wait a minute.
Just got a handout for you.
So it's just kind of an expansion fund, these first two here, but thanks for taking the time to meet today. Kyle, Harlan, Gerke, and I met a little over a week ago and talked about staffing in our office. Prepared an org chart, which reflects the current and near-term staffing levels. As you can see, at the County Board of Commissioners, the Board of Supervisors, Kyle Oldry, myself, Arlen Gerke as Assistant Director, the Engineering Tech, which was vacated when Arlen was moved up to Assistant Director. We've got the two engineering techs, Brandon Bosch, Lee Tapper, and our Office Manager, Mary Thompson. She has shared that role of Office Manager time with Shayla Rock. Last week, we got a letter of resignation from Shayla Rock. Their family is moving to Kansas to be in her husband's trade territory. So that's kind of the layout. So looking at this, you know, again, we've got a vacancy in the engineering tech position, and we've been running tight for the last 8.5 months, and we'll have a near-term vacancy in the office manager. Want to move on to the next one, Kyle? And I just kind of wanted to touch on a few key of our partners in conservation. Southwest Prairie TSA, formerly known as the JPO. That's a joint powers organization of the 12 soil and water conservation districts in southwest Minnesota. Their engineer, Russell Hugendorn, he's housed in our office here in Laverne. He has been in our office since 2004, I believe. And then other staff that are working through the TSA. Doug Ross went on to his retirement, pursuing one of his passions as a soil health coordinator. He stops in and checks in regularly. And then Daniel Evers, who's housed in the Pipestone Soil and Water District office, she's an ag water quality certification specialist. She comes down and meets with our producers when they go through that process. The other one is Pheasants Forever Farm Bill biologist, jointly worked on with the Soil and Water District's Pheasants Forever and NRCS. That position is not filled at this time, but that will be a position shared amongst Brock County and our neighboring counties. And lastly, Caleb Rempel is funded through a grant through the Nature Conservancy. He's an employee of New Vision Co-op. He's a conservation agronomist focusing on conservation types of practices and promoting those in their trade. Then on to
Everything else is in the handout.
Yeah.
So,
that page 3 is kind of a basic breakdown of a number of our partners and who we leverage resources with. I'm not going to go through that entire list. Various federal and state agencies and local units of government, City of Laverne, various counties and soil and water conservation districts. A lot of those, when I mentioned the 4 conservation districts and counties, that's through the Missouri River Watershed Initiative. Page 4, I just kind of wanted to touch on the local roles and functions and where we get our authority through. Again, I'm not going to read through them, but got 2 pages here of various, again, functions and roles: planning and zoning, wetland conservation act, the delegated feedlot program, the soil and water conservation district, solid waste and recycling programs. Moving on, clean water partnership, GIS, and various functions out of the soil and water district side of our operations, and the E911 addressing system. Kyle asked me to touch on various funding sources to our office. I just threw some quick round numbers together, but typically, if you look at the average, we typically run around $30,000 a year in permits and fees paid into our office: land use permits, refuse hauling permits, septic permits, feedlot permits, et cetera, et cetera. The SCORE grant funds amounted to $86,000. This year was the first year of an MDA grant to help fund the unfunded mandate of Ag Inspector, $6,000, and that looks to be an annual grant. And I just kind of lumped all the water resource grants together of $359,000. Again, that's pretty broad. It's coming into the Soil and Water District and the county. Local property taxes coming into our operations amounts to about $45,000, and then the solid waste assessments is around $240,000. We've been down 1 staff member since the end of August of 2025, and we'll be down a half a staff person when Shayla Rock leaves next month. If I look at the near term and immediate needs where we're looking to need to kind of help fill in some gaps. I mean, we've been plugging along pretty well for the last 8.5 months. And we've been kind of fortunate with a number of things that, for lack of better words, backed off some. But if I look at Wetland Conservation Act, the drainage requests and reviews that come in, especially when we get a lot of rain, I think if I remember right, after the 2014 flood, I think we had somewhere around 300 drainage review requests that 1 year alone. When we get out of this drought, they're gonna come back. Feedlots, we're down some in feedlot permitting activity this year. When I talk to my neighbors, they're running more typical, more average years. You know, we're probably not going to see the highs like we did 15, 20 years ago, you know, where we were dealing with 15 to 20 feedlot expansions, but I think, you know, a more typical number is gonna be running around 8 per year plus or minus, and we're running about 4 right now. CREP, or Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program easements. As the commodity prices have come down and the margins have gotten tighter, we've got more people looking at tying up those less productive tracts of land into CRP programs and CREP easements. The CREP easements would be perpetual easements. Our office works with those, and there's a lot of legal documents in terms of the restrictions on those easements, because those CREP easements are perpetual easements. Just within the last year, we've got our CCP, Regional Conservation Partners Program. Our office was successful in obtaining funding from all 7 rounds of the RCCP funding starting in August of last year. And what that means is we've got about $900,000 to administer out this year, 2027 and through 2028. It's for strip till, no-till, and cover crops. These are non-structural types of practices. That's where we're going to see a lot of demand for our services. I would also echo, we've been involved with the Missouri River Watershed Conservation Initiatives, and through that partnership that we've got in the Missouri River Watershed. Statistically, we've probably had anywhere from about $500,000 to $600,000 every 2 years on the ground in structural practices, and we've opened it up to more of these non-structural practices of strip till, no-till, cover crops. And lastly, cover crops, the strip till, no-till, that's all geared towards the soil health, basically helping to hold the soil where it's at, reducing runoff during rainfall events, that sort of thing, and promoting the biological activity in the soil to make them more productive and more stable. That was a kind of a quick rundown. That's what I wanted to do. I know time is of the essence here, but basically what I'm looking to ask is that we could look to refill that engineering tech position that was vacated last year as a grant funded position, and likewise get somebody in to fill that half-time position with the office manager's role.
Go ahead, Con.
Mr. Chair, just by a real quick overview, the reason we didn't fill it back at the end of 2025 was we knew there was new administration coming on board. We knew the state had some financial challenges on its horizon. We were concerned about outside monies coming in. And it looks like the dust has settled on that. The outside money's continuing to come in. We know there's some things that are happening at the FSAs and NRCSs of the world, but at least the monies that are allocated to counties to do programs are continuing to come in. So I would echo Eric's sentiment about the request to fill back the engineering tech position, as well as the office manager half-time position.
And I would even add too, when you mentioned feds, the fact that a few years ago, the prior area conservationist housed out of Marshall, for lack of better words, there was a pretty substantial exodus out of the NRCS offices. I don't know if you remember him talking about that at the Soil and Water Board meetings, Commissioner Williamson. And the technical expertise coming out of the NRCS offices was reduced substantially. They're still trying to rebuild their program, so we've been filling in a lot there as well too.
Good. Thanks, Eric. Action to fill the vacant spot of engineer, right?
Engineering tech and backfill half-time office manager.
Oh, that's right.
Those two
Forgot about
It'd be
that.
1.5 FTE total.
I'd make that motion to move forward with that request.
I'll
I'll second the motion.
I move and second that we, fill the slot of engineering tech and
Halftime office manager.
halftime office. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric.
Start advertising.
Thank you for the update, Eric.
Ashley?
Morning, Ashley. Did you spend the night? I saw your vehicle was here at like 6 this morning.
I'm ready for filing. It's a big day. I have no additions and no per diems.
Okay, claims. How we doing on the claims? See anything out of the ordinary?
I don't think so.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the claims report.
I would second that.
We moved in second to pay the, approve the claims report. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Fund balance.
Fund balances are as of Friday, May 15th. We've just been very focused on tax collection, so that's what we've been doing. I ran the numbers this morning, and we have about 580 parcels unpaid, which is a pretty normal amount. We'll still have mail coming in today. That's postmarked, so.
Good.
And you'll send out checks to schools here pretty quick, right?
Yes, we will. We'll send the first 50% within 5 days, so.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the fund balance report.
I'll second.
Been moved in second to approve the fund balance report. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we have 3 warrants.
Yeah, we have 3 batches of auditor warrants, pretty standard ones that we usually have.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrants as listed.
Second motion.
Been moved in second to approve the auditor warrants. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. One more thing on the agenda that impacts Ashley. We did have a resignation out of her office last 2 weeks ago, meeting Guyver, and so we will be posting that one back for advertising. Matter of fact, I think the ad hit the announcer yesterday. So.
Okay. Thanks for the update. Thank you, Ashley.
Kyle, go back to that. Is there another name on here?
Yeah, I was gonna cover that when Mark is here.
Oh, okay. I just seen that now.
Yeah, we just got that letter yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good.
I didn't want to steal Mark's thunder.
Well,
I just,
Jeff?
Morning, attorney.
Good morning.
morning.
So, Kyle and Ryan asked if I would talk a little bit about this. If you recall when we had the discussion about the garage building that Ryan was going to apply for a grant for, it turns out we were not eligible to get that grant. Because it was only for municipal entities.
It was a loan.
Huh?
It was a loan.
Loan,
Loan.
right.
Yeah, there you go.
What we discovered in that process is that there are several programs, or at least a few programs in the state, and however the state operates is the way the state operates. I don't want to try to get my mind into that mindset, or else I might need the counseling people later, but they have programs that are set up where counties are not eligible, but municipalities are eligible. There is a provision in the water and sewer area in Minnesota statute 169A.01, where a county board that has a water system can petition the district court to grant the county municipal powers to use for that water system. If we would have done that at some point prior, then we would have been eligible for this loan that we had applied for on the garage. Because, again, that's only for municipal systems. So, there is a process under this statute where the county would have to file with the district court a petition to ask the court to be granted the authority to operate as a municipality, and that gives us all the powers that municipalities have under chapters 117, 412, 429, 475, 115, 444, and 471. That's a lot of different chapters that have specific, basically city powers. Why they treat cities and counties differently in some of these programs, there's no real rhyme or reason to that. It's just something they did. There's not really a drawback to doing this. It doesn't change anything like the water system would do. It doesn't give the board, the advisory board, any different powers. It gives the county board the different powers. And it would just allow some mechanisms for funding options that they don't currently have. So if the board wishes to pursue this, you need to pass a resolution authorizing this petition to the district court, and then that would start the process. We would petition the court. It has to be a hearing. It has to have public notice before the court has the hearing. And then the court would issue the order granting the county these municipal powers, assuming that the court wouldn't have a reason not to, which I can't fathom why they wouldn't. But. So I guess the question is, if the board wants us to pursue that option, on the next agenda, we'd have to put a resolution before the board to authorize the petition, and then we would proceed accordingly under the statutes.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't do it?
The only reason that it wasn't done before is because at the time this was created, it was a single county entity, and there really wasn't some of these programs that are out there that we can't get access to. So it just wasn't done. It's not that they consciously decided not to do it, it just wasn't really needed then. So there's not, that as far as Mary Apple and Don and I are all concerned, none of us can really see a drawback to doing it. It just gives you more options.
Sure.
And Mr. Chair, and it's still limited. Those municipal powers don't change anything other than how we can apply for water for just rural water. It doesn't impact highway department.
No, it's exclusively to the water system.
Right. Yeah. So do we want this on the agenda for next meeting?
Well, right, if you want us to pursue it, then you need to authorize us, we'll get a motion, we'll get the resolution going, and then after the resolution's passed, we would do the petition.
You want action to support it?
It's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion. We wanna, issue a resolution, or how it's the
Yeah,
technical?
just authorize pursuing these powers, and then we'll go through the steps, which will include the resolution on the next agenda, and then the petition after that.
That's my motion.
Okay.
I'll support that.
Eloquently stated.
Yeah.
Very good job.
It may look different in the minutes.
Been moved and second to approve the motion which Susan has down perfectly.
Want to repeat that back to us?
You're gonna authorize pursuant of the municipal powers.
Okay, that'll work. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Did you have a question?
I was just gonna ask timeline.
Well, it is a somewhat lengthy process, because it has to be, after you pass the resolution, then we have to file the petition, and then we'll get a court date. It has to be advertised for a couple weeks before that, so, I mean, I'm already scheduling regular court stuff into July, so I mean, it's gonna be out there a ways.
Okay. Ryan, you okay with the path we're gonna take on that?
Yeah, I visited with Don quite a bit about this, and I don't see a downside.
Yeah.
You know, this whole project we had put together, we basically had to scrap the project.
Yeah.
We had to get rid of all the bids because we couldn't secure the funding.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's one of those things, you might use it once, you might use it 5 times, who knows?
Mhm.
But at least it's an option you have.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
We'll wait for Mark at 10 o'clock, and then we'll go on to informational, Kyle.
Absolutely.
You want to wait?
No, I'm good. I was just sending a text to Mark just, So a couple quick things under informational. We do have an out-of-state travel request from Cal. She couldn't be here today, but she has found a grant that will pay 100% of the cost for her to attend the Telling America Story. I think there were either 100 or 150 chosen across the country to attend this, and it's prepped for the 250th. It's in Cincinnati, so she's requesting authorization to travel out of state. And again, the cost of the out-of-state travel is covered by the library, what are they called? IMLS.
Okay.
I think if I remember right, she was nominated for this. Did she be nominated?
She was by this, I think Plum Creek maybe
Two
nominated.
different groups. I'd make a motion to approve out-of-state travel to the IMLS.
I'll support.
The move and second to support travel, out-of-town travel to IMLS, 2/22, 24. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Next up was I received an email from Eric Burning and then followed up with a phone call. The Ellison Eastern is going to pursue a CRISI grant. And CRISI, if you're curious what that stands for, it stands for Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements. The rail, Ellison Eastern received a CRISI grant a few years ago. Commissioners Williamson and Thompson, along with Commissioner Metz from Nobles County and myself, we went out along with Ellison Eastern representatives to Washington DC and worked on that, and they were successful at that time in getting a $13 to $15 million CRISI grant to do bridge replacements. The safety piece of that was, at that time, the federal government was changing the weight of the design that was needed for ethanol cars, hazard cars, so they weighed 286,000 pounds loaded. The bridge capacity we had at the time didn't meet that standard. They were awarded that, and they've since replaced the bridges and the track. This time they're looking to replace the rail. When they talk about 80-pound rail or 115-pound rail, what they're talking about is a 3-foot section of rail track. The smaller the number, the lighter the rail. Obviously, the bigger the number, the heavier the rail. So they're looking to replace the 80-pound rail with a 115-pound rail. It's a safety enhancement. It's a wear type issue for the amount of loads that they're going over, along with adding some sidings. What's interesting is the rehab, in this case for CRISI, will go all the way from Sioux Falls to Worthington or Oregon to their terminal in Sioux Falls. So there's a section of this that would be done in South Dakota. So one of the spurs would be in South Dakota, 2 of the spurs would be in Minnesota, or the side tracks, I should say, side tracks would be in Minnesota. And then the third piece of this is that this enhancement of the line opens it up to Sioux Falls, and it changes the speed on the line to right now it's an accepted track, which is an absolute lowest level of track, to at least a class 1 track, class 3 track. I think I've got the numbers backwards. Class 1 I think is the best, so a class 3 track, so they can have increased speeds and more cars, number of cars that they can take in a train at a time. So they're asking for our support, and that's basically what I'm relating to the board, is that they being the Ellison Eastern would be responsible for the match. There's no match back for the Buffalo Ridge Regional Railroad Authority. There's no match required from us at all. That board will also need to meet and have some type of letter of support and that to the CRISI grant. The grant itself is due the end of June. So if you want to think about it, you're fine. We really need an action at the next meeting if you wanted to, or if you authorize it today, I'd be happy to put it together.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to do a letter of support for the Allison Eastern and the CRISI grant.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to authorize procedure to go through to get the CRISI grant. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then, Carl, BRRA will have to approve this also.
They'll also ask for a letter of support.
Right, just a letter of support. And when would that take place in Washington DC then?
They would start lobbying, I would guess, almost immediately, because the applications will be in the end of June, so they'll be, at some point this fall, they'll need to certainly reach out to, I did talk with Senator Klobuchar's staff to see if they would do a letter, and they would as well. Her staff, at least, she'll have got to run to the senator, but then we'll still need to get with our representative instead, see if they'll do a letter. They're doing the same with the South Dakota delegation, since a portion of the CRISI was on the South Dakota side. So that's really the process now. And then at some point, we're hoping to put face to face with these folks and get the ask.
Will we do the exact same as we did for the last one, and send reps from BRRA to Washington?
I would think that will be the request from Allison Eastern, that we would assist them in lobbying or going out there and working with them. I don't know what their timeline is on it yet, and that's why I need to get the rail authority together and have Clark and his team over.
Okay.
I'm just guessing it'll be sometime in the fall of this year.
Okay. We'll leave to, when we come back, we'll take a break.
Sounds good.
Good. 8.3, 8.4 when we come back. Okay, we'll take a break. Okay, Mark.
All right, first item is Resolution 11-26, requesting a variance from the state aid rules for this project on 17, which is from the Iowa state line I-90. It's in 2029 with federal aid funds and state aid funds. But currently, its width is 11-foot lanes and 13 feet shoulders. And according to the state aid rules, you got that page?
What,
Existing,
I got this one?
no, standards. No. According to state aid rules, anything with an ADT is 750 and over with a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. The minimum width is 14 feet, which we're short by a foot. So if the board so approves, I'll be requesting a variance from this rule to allow that project to move forward.
Without the 1 foot.
Without the 1 foot, it'll remain 13.
Remain 13.
Yeah, we're doing a reconditioning on that.
Okay.
This is what it looks like now. Is that what you're
This is what it looks like now.
Do they historically grant variances like that? Or?
I don't think this one would be a big deal, but you never know till. I haven't brought a variance for 15 years, Jordan, so
Okay.
yes, I'm
Gonna find out?
gonna find out. But that's why I wanna know now, because if they're not gonna grant it, then I have to switch that money someplace else. You know, to a different location, so.
Okay.
So the request is just the resolution today?
Just a resolution to take it to the requesting a variance.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the request. Resolution number 1126.
I'll support it.
Been moved and second to approve resolution 1126.
Is there a reason why we just don't go out 1 more foot?
What's that?
We cannot go out 1 more foot on it to be in compliance, or
No, I only have 13 feet
that you can work with total?
total, then it's a ditch.
Oh,
Then you'd have to rebuild the road.
We'd have to rebuild it, which we can't afford,
okay.
Okay.
unfortunately.
Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7.2,
Second item is request to purchase a 2026 GMC 1500 crew cab. The state bid from North County GM is a cost of $49,098.20. And this replaces our unit 262, would replace 262, which is a 2013 Ford F-350 crew cab, which is our survey vehicle.
And you don't need a 3/4 ton pickup.
Not for the survey. Survey, yeah, it's survey, construction inspection,
And
bridge
unit-
inspections.
And unit 262 would go on the gov site.
Yes, correct.
Sold.
Yes.
Okay.
So this new pickup, that's a ton pickup, or a
No,
half-ton pickup?
half-ton
I mean?
pickup.
Half ton.
And it's replacing a ton pickup?
Yep.
This one doesn't pull anything, you know, it's,
Yeah.
yep.
Good. I'd entertain a motion to approve that. Or disapprove it.
So moved.
I'll second that.
It's been moved in second to accept the purchase of a 2006 GMC 1500 Crew Cab Pro to replace item 262 of 213 Ford F-350 Crew. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
What are you gonna do with that ton pickup then? You putting
We'll
back?
put it on the
Go.
gov deals,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
that sheriff's say.
Yeah.
So, that seems to work pretty well.
What year is that?
2013.
It'd be the 13 Ford.
Not really.
Is that just a regular box?
What's that?
Is that just a regular box, huh? We got
It's got a longer box because, yeah,
yeah.
It's a crew with a long box.
The crew.
yeah, it's not a super long box.
It's the gas, isn't it? It's not diesel.
That one is gas.
The other thing you want to talk about, 8.4.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, Al's decided to retire at the end of the month. He's got 40-plus years.
He's our longest termed employee, right?
I couldn't remember when he started, I was gonna ask him.
84, 85, isn't it?
I don't know, like 81 or 82,
Yeah. So he's been with us a long time, and his knowledge will be missed.
But our fund balance will grow.
I'll let him know.
The 5-year plan will look different.
Mark will find another way to spend it.
So that's all I have.
You want that on the agenda for next month?
Since it's just his part, we'll talk with Mark tomorrow before we get back.
Okay.
Tell Mark, or tell Al that we're gonna miss him in a good way.
Yep.
Yeah, yes.
Will do.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Well, Kyle, you have 8.3 left?
Yep.
And 8.4.
The legislative update, I sent in on AMC, did a session wrap. They adjourned the actual, they technically adjourned yesterday, but the actions of the state had to finish at midnight on Sunday night. So there were 4 big takeaways for counties. One probably impacts the state more, but it may bleed over to county, and that's the creation of the Office of Inspector General. AMC that may have things on grants that come out, and we're awarded a number of grants from the state. If you look at all the departments, everything from Mark, Eric talked about some IVIA state grant money through emergency management. There's constantly a flow of dollars, and I think this Office of Inspector General will have more of a keen eye on grants management and impact of counties. Certainly viewing it as a positive thing, they want to make sure that public dollars are spent appropriately. The second item was bonding, and Mark, before you walk out, bonding did have some dollars set aside for local bridge.
Yes.
And local
Wetlands. Yes.
So that, I think that was seen as a positive for counties. They were hoping that the dollar amount would be greater.
Yes.
But at least there was some, the bonding bill itself was the largest they were legally allowed to do at $1.2 billion. There are a number of local projects. I did look at the sheet. I was gonna print it and bring it out. It's about 10 pages long. Water seemed to be the emphasis in the bonding bill, public water, water treatment facilities, water towers, there were a number of those, there were huge.
There's a
huge
bunch
money.
of, bunch of earmarks in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of earmarks in there. There are still,
I think Slayton was the closest.
Yeah.
Didn't Slayton get something?
Slayton.
They got a road project.
They got a specific road project. There were a number of infrastructure projects that were targeted to communities specifically.
Yeah.
A lot of metro projects. And then the things that you look at, there were also a number of, fitness facilities.
And the bonding bill,
Community centers. And,
also had the tap fee reduction.
right, that was the other piece, right?
Yeah, so.
And then two other things. One was the tech modernization of human services was an absolute win. That was a critical necessity for our human services stuff. You remember Stacy Tim, our director, coming in, and Beth before her coming in, talking about green screens and having to re-enter things a number of times. So it's not going to be an immediate fix there, but there were huge amounts of dollars set aside for this modernization for technology. So hopeful that takes care of it. And then the last thing that they really touched on for us was the property tax relief. And that's a 14.88% increase in the homestead credit refund. So when they talk about property tax relief, it's very specific to the homestead credit refund. So that's where that money's gonna be targeted. It's $125 million that was going into that. And then Mark touched on the tax fees. I think, or the tabs, I think they're rolling it back to 2022 level. But that's only a 1 year.
1 year, and then
1 year,
they backfilled with general fund money. This will be back next year.
I will, once I have the
I'm
link,
sure.
they videoed it was about a 90-minute summary. They had all of the different lobbies. I will, they were gonna send the link out. If anybody's interested in the video, I'll send it to you to watch all or some of it and get the updates.
I know the
Those were kind of the
tab fees are an issue, but it's about 25 to 30% of our funding.
Right, it's huge.
So, but
Because of that,
I don't vote, so.
because of that bonding bill, then, are we gonna get that culvert into County Road 20?
They're both on the list. I would anticipate both those getting funded.
Okay, so, you know, I've talked to you.
Yeah, I can't guarantee it, Gary.
No, I know, I'm just
Come on.
saying some people
But-
are concerned why that's not done.
Yes, but it's on the way to all that stuff. Yeah.
The other one that was in the bonding bill, while we're talking about specifics on that, is RIM had $2 million in there for the state. That's a program that Arlen and he works really hard on RIM. So that's statewide allocation. That's not our allocation. Statewide, it's $2 million for RIM was in there as well. So, thanks, Mark. That's what I have on the legislative update. I'll send out the link, and then of course there'll be a much deeper dive when they come out to do district meetings. And then under the other reports, building updates, you can
No,
see.
wait a minute. Oh, you did it, Alan Hart.
Yeah, we covered Megan when Ashley was here and Al when
That's right.
was here. So,
We're good.
under the administrator office, building updates, you can see that we're working on the HVAC right now, and actually that's going extremely well. They did not short us on staff. They brought in all kinds of people. It's hard to find a parking spot right now because their plan is to get in and get out as quickly as possible. So we're very pleased with how that project's proceeding. We did an accepted completion on the armory just to get that contractor off-site. So we're fixing up a few things with, what's the name of the other contractor?
I'm not aware.
The one that was working in the courthouse.
Empire?
Empire's doing a few small projects just to clean up what was any leftover items. We're working through the penalty, and we'll get that resolved, and I'll report that at the next board meeting. So that's really where we're at on buildings. I don't have a start date or an open date for the household hazardous. I should have talked to Eric while he was here, asking him. But we're really close to opening up the household hazardous waste collection site at the Armory. They were just waiting on something for the garage door. I know Kemp was working on a couple things with the opener. So that will be a nice thing to get that opened up and have that local, more hours. It's easier accessible when it's in town, that type of thing. FEMA claim update. I'm pleased to announce that they've obligated one of the 3 project worksheets and the other 2 are in peer review, so we're moving forward with the FEMA money for the railroad claim of 2024. So that's good to have that moving forward. And that's really my updates there, Mr. Chair.
Susan, you got anything for us?
Well, with employee resignations and new hirings,
Yeah. It'll be
that
busy,
says it all right there.
busy again,
Yep,
interview.
yep. Hiring process,
What
issuing
do,
their exit, benefit paperwork and, yeah.
one of you explain what you were doing with the high school kids? Just so,
Sure.
It's kind of we appreciate what you do when you, join a program like that and go through, you could explain the process.
Sure, the school, I think this was the third year, they created a program called Cardinal Academies. And the Cardinal Academies allow students, starting in their sophomore year, to kind of figure out what, it's kind of a job, career research piece. You can choose a lane. There's medical, there's arts, there's service, there's trades, and I'm missing one. Business, obviously business. So the students pick one of these five, and what the school does is they bring someone in from the outside to work with the students in that area. Obviously, we have the service piece. Service covers everything from education to government, public sector, nonprofits. So any student that might be interested in that, they marry up with us early on. And we bring in a panel where they can ask questions. My last panel, I had some, they tell us what their interests are, so we try to marry up the panel. I think Jeff was on a panel one year. I had a student or two that wanted to be attorneys. This year I had law enforcement, so I had a deputy take part. I've had teachers every year. It seems like we've always got folks that are interested in education. And then they prepare ahead of time and they ask the panel questions. And then as they continue to proceed, they have to do a job shadow. We assist them in trying to find a placement for job shadow. And then they finish up with creating a resume, which Susan and I sit down and critique and help them kind of fine tune the resume a little bit. And then it finishes up with a mock interview. So Susan and I do interviews this year we had 17, which was our highest number ever. And the interviews are 20 minutes long. And what we do is we go through a formal interview, they present the resume, we do the interview, and then we give them feedback right away afterwards. You did this really, really well, you might want to look at this, you might want to answer this way, think about the answers. And then if successful, if they complete all the steps over 3 years at the Cardinal Academies, then they're awarded a medallion on awards night. So last night I went up to the school and I gave 7 that graduated this year. They get a medallion for successfully completing, they get a certificate medallion for the service academy. And they can put that on their college app and that kind of stuff going forward. So, no, it's a way to be involved, try to get some students thinking about careers, and it's kind of interesting. I had one that sat through the panel and she left and said, I'm switching to business. so that's really what it's intended for.
That's good exposure.
Let it see if it's something they want to do or not want to do.
Well, the county board, thank you and Susan and Jeff too for helping on this, or being a part of this program, because it sounds like it's a real benefit to, these are seniors.
There's actually sophomores, juniors, and seniors.
All three.
So we meet with them at each level. And Mark has helped us too. We had a student this year that wanted to job shadow an engineer, so he worked with Mark on the shadow. He was more interested in the business side of engineering, but Mark was available as a PE, so he could kind of see what a civil engineer does.
Sure. Well, thank you.
No, it's a good program.
Commissioner Rice.
I have Rock Nobles Community Corrections since our last meeting, SMOC, and then we had a city county liaison meeting. And that's all I've had.
Good. Commissioner Overgaard.
Attended a fair board meeting. We met with a representative of Next Era, Hardwick City Council, and then city county liaison this morning.
Good. Commissioner Thompson.
Local library board meeting, and that looks like it.
Good. I met with Gary and representative from Next Era, and that's it, I guess. Anything else to come before the meeting today then? I'll order by the chair adjourned.